Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's VinPF and on today's episode we're going to be covering another Firkin whiskey, and this one's the Firkin 49. Now you might recognise this if you've been following my projects or anything like that. This has been featured heavily on my Dram Slam podcast, which you can check out. It's YouTube videos as well, of course. If you're into that, you're watching on YouTube, you probably want those YouTube videos. If not, check out the podcast as well. I've got a few more episodes of that to come if you're watching this live, including the creator of this, where we delve into this in a little bit more detail. But one of the cool things I will say at the top of this show is that because I've been introducing this to people on the Dram Slam, people that haven't tried this before, and it's been surprising and impressing a lot of people. Before we actually get into this as well, I will say right from the top of the show, you guys know that I do accept some free bottles every now and again. That is not the case with this one. I did buy this, and I do have some information about what they're doing right now, and they're doing some samples. It might only be UK, but they're doing some samples, 2 30ml samples I want to say, for $5.99 delivered, and you can check out this exact dram for that, and if you like it, they'll even discount you that $5.99 off a full bottle. Again, free delivery, but I'll put a link in the description below. But the reason why I'm saying that now is I want to impress on you that I've got absolutely no affiliation with them whatsoever. They haven't paid me to say that. I just genuinely love this dram, and if you can check it out for cheap without spending the full 69 quid on a bottle, then I think why not? You basically try before you buy, and it's risk-free because you can get it off the bottle, essentially. Anyway, enough of that. Check out the link in the description if you're interested, because I think it's a great deal. Let's get into the Firkin 49 and see what we've got. Now, as you might know, if you've been following me, I'm a big fan of Firkin. Again, as I said, sometimes I get sent some free bottles from the industry, but I've bought all of the bottles that I've covered so far from the Firkin because I just absolutely love what they do. The guys behind it have got a huge pedigree, and I'll explain that a lot in my previous videos. But the one thing you really need to know is that the guy, Mike Collins, he's the creator of things like the Johnnie Walker Blue Label and Green Label. So, he's been in the industry a long time, he knows what he's doing, and he's making some fantastic whiskies. This one here is called the Firkin 49, as I've said a couple of times now, but it's the 49 really comes from two things. One is the birth year of Mike Collins, 1949, and also it's the sort of, I don't know, what would you say, creation date, the build date, the conception date of the Tullibardine distillery, of which this is. And that was also built in 1949, so they kind of call it the 49 because all of these are Tullibardines, and they're all the same. So it's a batch release, so they do have like several different casks of this. That's something you need to double check on. But the one I've got here today is cask number Sierra Charlie 9 Alpha, so SC9A. So you might have a different one, but we're going with this one, and we can see what we've been tasting. Now, as I mentioned, this is a Tullibardine, and again, I've just covered a few Tullibardines, so you'll notice that I've been trying really hard to say that properly for a change, so there you go. The comments do work. If I ever say things wrong, feel free to chuck it down below. This one here, as you may already know, if you've been watching the Dram Slam, is a single cask whiskey, but not... It is a single cask, but they've done something different, and I'll explain it briefly, but if you want the full information about that, you want to check out my other Firkin videos. It's essentially distilled by the Tullibardine distillery, put into an ex-bourbon cask for aging. It was then picked up by Mike. He's taken it out for a finishing period in a custom-built cask, which is 2 different kinds of wood. It's American oak that has had some bourbon in it, so ex-bourbon barrel. It's been split down, and then it's also been mixed in with staves from a Limousin cask, so European oak, French oak, whichever way you want to say. Then they season it with fortified wines or fortified drinks. In this case, it's 2. We've got Oloroso and Amontillado. Always struggle to say that. Can't say I'm a big sherry fan, so I'm not going to go into depth about the differences between these. But the only thing I do know is that Amontillado starts off life as a Fino sherry, and then something goes wrong with their kind of like fermentation process or the yeast process. They cover the barrel with yeast. And so if something goes wrong with that, then they have to then ratchet up the ABV. I'm not going to go... I'm no scientist, I'm no professional, I don't know what I'm talking about really. But that's what happens, and then it turns into an Amontillado, so it's not a waste. But the key difference that I'm led to believe is that Amontillado is quite nutty and Oloroso is quite rich. So that should be bringing 2 different kinds of things to this. And as I mentioned a bit earlier as well, these are £69. I think in the UK you can only get them from Top Whiskies. But I think they're available in Germany, Japan, possibly the US as well. So it's well worth looking at your local retailers for these, because they're definitely getting out there. Definitely out there. A lot of talking. Let's get onto the actual whiskey and see what we've got. As I said, single cask, natural colour, so we can talk about that. It's a lovely, it's quite light for sure, but it's a lovely golden colour. Let's get onto the nose and see what we've got. Okay, so I think nothing too out of the ordinary on the nose. If you're a big sherry fan, you know, this isn't like sherry bomb territory, but you can tell it's a sherried whiskey. It's a lot of those dried fruits, but for me, it's got some extra honey elements to it, vanillas, you know, that kind of normal thing. And I was trying to decide what kind of nut that I was getting. For me, it kind of manifests as an almond kind of nut. Enjoying that. Yeah, let's try on the palate. Okay, so yeah, it's a really interesting one, because I'm probably being led by the tasting notes here with that whole nuttiness thing, but for me, it isn't a like something I'm not overly keen on with sherried whiskies is the sweetness of it all. But this is very drying sherry, so it's yeah, not overly sweet whatsoever, but you've got some kind of malty biscuit notes coming through the other end, and I get a kind of spiciness which is manifesting in like sort of clove style thing. But it's really lovely, and it peters out onto the finish, and that's where the nuttiness is really coming through for me. Loads of those almond flavours that I mentioned on the nose really coming through on the palate and kind of just sticking around. They're really just chewing around. Yeah, a really nice finish as well. Really nice finish. So you guys know that I like Firkin, so you take it obviously with a pinch of salt. And I say these things on most of my videos about them. This is a lovely dram. This is a lovely dram. It's well worth, I think, especially if you're in the UK, but it's well worth checking out that $5.99 deal to see if you like this as well, because I fully get that £69 is a lot of money to outlay. And I will admit, this isn't my favourite of the bunch. I like smoky whiskey, so the other whiskies they've done, like the Lecheg and the Kalila, which I don't think I've covered yet, but those two are absolutely fantastic. And it was the Altmore, the rare Altmore, that really got me into their brand. And this doesn't beat them, but it's got a valid place next to those whiskies for sure. For sure, I'm super glad that I've got it in my collection. And it's one of those brands where they've built up a bit of a reputation with me now. So although I took a punt, in fact, I should say as well, the first time I ever tried these guys, it was a sample set that they sent over, and I tried sort of all 4 of them. And that's where if it hadn't been for that, I don't think I would have sort of given them a shot, because you think, well, it's just another whiskey. You know, I've got so many whiskies I need to buy. I really struggle to buy all the whiskies I want to buy as it is. But being able to try them was really what made me sort of get into the brand. So that's kind of why I'm banging on about that sample set. I really think it's a good deal. For me, I think it's a winner, absolute winner. If you like things like the Oloroso Amontillado, which I don't see very often at all with whiskey, if you like that sort of idea, if you like Tullibardine and you want to see them finished in those kind of things, then this is where you want to be looking. But that's the beauty of Firkin. They've got loads of different versions of it now, and if you like, I always say this on the videos for them, but if you like the sound of the distillery and you like the sound of the finishes, then just get that bottle, because you won't be disappointed. I mean, like I said earlier, we should be talking about this one, but that Lecheg is absolutely stunning whiskey, and it was an absolute no-brainer for me to buy that once I'd tried a few of them and got to know what the brand was all about and got to see them. But yeah, if you're still not convinced, wait a couple of weeks. I'm going to be releasing another Dram Slam with Mike Collins, and we go into detail about Firkin, and you can get an idea about what he's about and why I think it's a brand that should be on your radar. Much whittering. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. I'm going to be going on to something a little bit different next week, but you know, stick with it and we'll see what we've got. Catch you again on more videos.